All right, welcome to another Grit and Grime basketball podcast. I'm your host, as always, David Sagoe, here with the usual crew. We have Thomas Arnal,
Hey,
Michael Downey,
All right.
and Jose Garcia Vidal.
Hello, how are you?
how very
Hi,
polite tonight.
fans.
I want to know how the fans are.
Yeah, man. I'm sure they're all right. Holler at us at Grit and Grime Pod on all socials. Let's do the end at the beginning. Screw it.
Yeah.
That's how you get followers, right? You
Mm.
do it when they're actually listening, not when they've stopped. So yeah, us on socials at Grit and Grime Pod across all socials, Facebook, Instagram. Well, Meta now. It's not
Meta.
Facebook
Well,
anymore.
it's still called Facebook though. Meta is a group, isn't it?
I don't know.
Investing. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I just bought some shares there as well. So.
I don't know, man. I'm only on there because of the pod. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we're all over the place at Grit and Grime Pod. And visit our Linktree page, Linktree/Grit and Grime Podcast. Don't forget the cast. You can support us on there monetarily to help us keep this pod going, keep up the good content. So without further ado, we introduce the new episode for this week. Basketball. Let's talk some basketball. So we have the new season started. So we are going to be talking about the teams that I've affectionately called the Nosebleed teams. The teams that are up higher than they can handle. And they need to come back down. So where should we start off? Mike, if you wanna jump in with one of the teams on the list.
should we start at the top?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah, the Chicago Bulls. They made a lot of changes, and it seems to be working quite well for them. Top of the East at the moment with 6-1.
Top of the league, actually.
Yep.
Best team in the league now.
You are right.
The GOAT. Meh.
So yeah, I mean, it looked good in preseason. We sort of we tagged them as a one to watch, and that has continued, and they've played really nice and actually played good defense as well, which is kind of taken everyone by surprise.
That was the biggest surprise about it, right? We expected them to be fun to watch. We expected them to be exciting. All this athleticism on the team, through their guards and stuff like that, and then Vucci Main popping threes as well. We expected them to be fun. I didn't expect them to play any defense, and they've been really good. One of the better defensive teams in the league.
I mean, Vucci's still not playing like, but the rest of them apparently it adds up.
But he's
playing, man. Like I seen him score like 2 baskets or something like that. Like not even setting screens. Like
it's a lot of balls to share around that team.
Nothing, Tom?
Oh, I skipped right over that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that it's natural that we talk about the Bulls because yes, they're doing great. Yes, they're fun to watch, but they played no one yet. Like the only team in the West they played is the Jazz, which they beat, great, by 8 points, amazing. And yesterday, they had an amazing performance against the Celtics, but the Celtics are playing terribly. But after that, they played the Pistons twice, the Pelicans, and the Raptors. And they lost against the Knicks, which is surprising.
What? Sorry.
Another Nosebleed team.
No. We're right where we belong.
So we'll talk about the Knicks, but the Bulls. Talking about the Bulls, can they keep this up when they face the Lakers? They play the Sixers tomorrow. Actually, they play them back to back. Then they play the Nets. And then they play
two average teams in the East.
And the Warriors, the Clippers, can they, and then the Lakers, they have some difficult games coming up. I guess that's when we're going to see if they can stay up there or not.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the fact that they how do I say this? A lot of their players are used to carrying quite a big load. Like Vucevic carried the offense a lot of the time in Orlando.
Yeah.
Look at Tom. Tom's become so disciplined. You do martial arts or something?
It's okay, carry on.
Vucevic carried a huge offensive load in Orlando, scoring wise. DeRozan carried a big offensive load in
You
had to mute. A huge offensive load in San Antonio. Zach LaVine in Chicago, obviously. And then Lonzo Ball only had the help of like one-time All-Star Brandon Ingram and this guy called Zion or something like that.
Big Zion.
Used to play with some guy called LeBron.
Libra.
So he's not used to having all of this offensive firepower on his team either. So now that they've all come together, I think that they're much better able to put in effort on the defensive end because the other people are going to pick up the slack on offense as well. So everyone can play within themselves on offense and then exert more energy defensively.
Like I think there were concerns about how it's going to fit in sort of offensively and stuff like that. But I think you're right in what you say that these guys have had to carry quite a lot offensively. But it's not necessarily because they're like ball hogs, or it's not something that has been like a personality thing that they have to play that way, you know.
No.
So I think getting them together and putting them around sort of somebody like a Caruso who's a good gel guy, and given some of the other like young talent that they already had on the Bulls that was sort of wasting away a little bit there. I think it gives them something to play for as well. And if you're getting that, you've got a bit of excitement back in the game. It's just that energy boost that I think that really can propel sort of defenses to perform better than what they might do otherwise.
Yeah, I think so. The chemistry's good. So yeah, they've been going off. Long may it continue. There's a lot of people I'm happy for on that team. I like one of the things I mentioned in the NBA fans group, shout out to NBA UK fans, is the whole sort of now you get to see himness of the new season and of new seasons in general.
Yeah.
So like Laker fans have been waxing lyrical about Caruso for years, and then he goes to another team, and because you don't get the usual like anti-Lakers hate, now all of a sudden people are like, oh, that Caruso guy sure can play, huh? He's a chip off the old block. And you get to see that as well, like Lonzo finally being in a good environment for him. He's fixed his jump shot and now he's like really excelling.
Wow, yeah, I saw him shooting like wow. It's
picture perfect.
Yeah. I'm impressed.
But then you also get the bad side of it, right? Like you get to see that I think Clippers fans were killing Eric Bledsoe because he almost gave the game away yesterday, and there's that side of it as well, which is also equally as entertaining.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess like, do you think the Bulls can keep this up, or do you think that there's some form that they do keep up? Or do you think that the start of their season changes your early preseason prediction?
Where did I have them? Did I?
I think we all kind of like
the playoffs.
We kind of agreed that they were just gonna make it, or we're gonna be like nothing above 6. I think.
Yeah.
Right? Like we kind of agree with that. I think that look, like they can still make it. Let's not forget this is the East once again. But can they fight in the playoffs? Like what we're talking about right now is like, you know, you're gonna if you want to stay up there, it's because you want to fight in the playoffs. So I think it's gonna be a tricky one. I'm eager to watch them against the Sixers tomorrow. I think that's gonna say a lot about what's to come, because the Sixers are not an amazing team, but they've been together for longer. They're solid, or a bit solid, more solid. So we'll see.
And they have tons of wing and guard defenders, right? Which is exactly what the Bulls rely on. So what happens when they come up against that? They did go up against Toronto, to be fair, who also are in that situation, but it's just another challenge for those for those players to show that they can punch through a good defense. So it will be interesting to see as they come up against these other teams in a tougher part of the schedule. Whether they can stay up there, I think right now it seems like that's gonna be reliant on whether the other teams in the East can step up, right? Because I think there's quite a few teams in the East who are underperforming. Like we expected the Bucks to be better than this. We expected the Nets to be better than this.
Celtics.
So if those teams don't sort of round into form, then it can be one of those things where one of the other teams, Miami or Chicago or the Knicks, can sort of get a head start and just go for it and just finish on top. We've seen it happen a few times, like when Atlanta won the East and stuff like that, where a team just gets on a roll and just the momentum carries them through to a number one seed. So it can definitely happen.
I could see them sneaking the fourth spot for sure. I think I had them as a playing team, so it's definitely giving them a boost. For sure.
Tom, you were the lowest on them out of us. Do you see it continuing? How are they going to deal with the altitude?
The altitude
is the air going to get thin?
I don't know. My thing with them is that their roster is pretty short. Like the starting five is really good, but the bench. So all you need really is an injury on one of those guys, especially DeRozan right now. So if that happens, and it's a thing, it could happen. It's likely always can happen in the season. So that would be for me one of the main factor. And then, I can sort of picture them, but then again, like Brooklyn's too low, Philly's allegedly too low. Atlanta is again trailing there, so it's three teams that should be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I don't think Chicago's as allegedly as good as the other team. So I could maybe what did I have them like playing / like 7th or 8th I think in the East. I think that's what I put them in.
You did.
Let's say 5, 6 then.
Right. Yeah. So a little jump.
Yeah. But again, I'm always very. Yeah, you have to be super careful with early season. Like 6 games in, 7 games in.
Yeah.
You see it every season. Like a team starts absolutely on fire, and then suddenly they lose something that fucks up, and then they're gone. So yeah, it's fairly early, but yeah, it's surprising though. I didn't think they would gel and have those results that early.
Yeah, I agree there. Because even though they played nobody yet, it's still like they play well.
Yeah, you still have to win those games, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're playing, and it's fun to watch. Like it's really entertaining to watch the Bulls, and that hasn't happened since D-Rose, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Who's the next team, Mike? Load them up.
Next team, we're going to stick in the East and just go down. Washington, the Washington Wizards, currently 4th in the East, 5-2. They were higher, they dropped a little bit. Surprising for me. But to be honest with you, like I didn't even clock their full roster. Like the fact that they've got like Trez, Kuzma, Caldwell Pope, and Dinwiddie.
Yeah,
blew me by that they picked up Dinwiddie. So yeah, they've just got like really quite solid, and you combine that with Daniel Gafford, who's sort of developing as well. They've actually just got quite a good roster for me. Again, another one, they haven't played any Western teams. They only played sort of Eastern, and I think they've played underperforming. I think they've played the Celtics twice. I don't know what's going on with the Celtics.
Going back to the roster, and they're missing
Hachimura.
What's his name? Hachimura, who's
what's up with
actually
him?
Well, he I read about it yesterday where he actually asked for he asked for time off because of mental health issues with linked to the Japanese national team won the Olympics basically burned him out mentally because of the gist of it
home
is
Olympics.
Anti-black resentment in Japan, because obviously it's not. If you know anything about the Japanese culture, they're not the most, they're super friendly, but
they're quite
they're homogenous.
They're very closed down, like it's their own culture and stuff. So there was a lot of bullying, and the classic right now on social media, him getting racially abused by Japanese fans saying they shouldn't have let a black guy carrying the flag and being the face of the Japanese team for especially like home Olympic stuff. It was like, okay, great. So he's asked for the Wizards to take some time off, but they don't actually know where he is and what the state of his mind is right now. So it's a bit concerning. Okay. So hopefully he'll be all right. But
hopefully he is. Hopefully he can get through it. Because that is messed up. It's messed up to be rejected by your own people. But yeah, in his absence, they are kicking butt. They have beat up on some weaker teams. They caught the Raptors before Goran Dragic came back. Before Goran Dragic was dropped from the lineup, rather. They've also played a couple of overtime games. So like it's a situation kind of like with the Celtics where if you lose those close games, all of a sudden your record looks more in line with where we'd expect them to be, but they happen to win them. So it goes the other way. But I think the Hawks victory is probably the most impressive one on that resume. But yeah, they're winning with depth. They're winning with depth, as Mike said. That roster is deep. Couple NBA champions on them. Don't ask where they got them from. And Trez's brush shoulders with greatness. But I watched what was it, the end of the fourth and the overtime of the Wizards Celtics game, which they came through, and they did it with defense in a lot of cases. Like they were up. Wasn't it double overtime? My thing only says one, but they were down, I think, 4 or 5 points in each of the overtimes and managed to come back to force it to a second overtime and then to win. And you can't do that unless you're playing defense. And when you've been playing like for 48 minutes and beyond, being able to still lock in defensively, showing that concentration is a really, really big asset. And I think who was it? Someone locked up Schroeder at the very end of the game, and then it led to a KCP strip of Jason Tatum to close out. And I think the fact that they have that depth allows them to lock in for extra minutes. Kuzma's been an absolute beast on the boards, and Bradley Beal hasn't even really gotten going yet. That's the crazy thing. I think he had a good scoring night last night, but I think that was his first one of the season. He's one of those stars who's been struggling. Dinwiddie's been excellent. He's been excellent, passing, creating, and scoring efficiently. And then they just spread the wealth outside of that.
He's the most underrated.
He's a good piece that I think just got a little bit lost in the whole Nets situation. So I think he's definitely a good piece to have over there and getting a bit more limelight, hopefully.
The schedule is going to be interesting. Like I think we'll know a little bit more about the Wizards in about 10 games because they're playing the Heat twice, Charlotte, the Bucks, Memphis, who is super tough. The Cavs, also another surprise maybe, because they're not as sucky as we thought they would be. And the Raptors. The Raptors, they just down one of the best team in the NBA last night. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they are at the end of that 10-game stretch.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely been a favorable start for them. But they're just they're not terrible. I chalk them down as a terrible team, and I don't think they're that.
But they lost all the preseason games as well. If you remember, they lost every single preseason game. So again, it's a tale of don't judge teams on that stretch. Look, now they lost everything, and since then they're like, the real thing is now.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I could see them getting into the play-in. I don't think they're going to be a sort of solid playoff or anything like that. I definitely think they drop down from where they are now. But it's just, having teams that don't suck is always a good thing.
True.
Yeah. I think we should do some kind of power ranking or something like that, even if we split East and West, just because I feel like there's a lot of good teams in the league. Like there's really very few teams that are tanking. And when you look at a team like the Wizards and when you say out loud, oh, I think they can make the play-in, that makes perfect sense, right? A solid play-in team, maybe 7 or 8, right? But then you go down the list and there's actually a bunch of teams that are vying for those spots. So I think that would be a cool thing to do.
Weren't the Wizards in the playoffs last year? Can't remember if they were.
Play-in.
They won the play-in, didn't they?
Yeah.
They won the play-in, they got into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay.
As the 8th seed. Yeah. Boston were the 7 and the Wizards were the 8. So are we in agreement that they'll finish in those spots? Yeah,
I think so.
I don't think 7 or 8. Like
okay,
you think playing
10?
Playing like between 9 and 11. Oh God,
yeah. I'll say 8, 9, 10. One of those spots.
Yeah.
Maybe 9. Maybe more 9 and 10. Maybe. But yeah.
All right.
Fine.
Louis, you put Dave to sleep with your wizard talk. Oh my God.
I just woke up from a nap, man. Come on, you know the routine.
I know you do. I do.
So next team, Mike. Load them up so we can pull at their ankles.
Wait, Mike, I would suggest you put the Pistons in there as overachieving. Because they are bottom of the East, but they won in 5. I mean, that one win. I'm like, wow.
It was against the Magic.
Oh, okay, fine, fair enough. In that case, withdrawn. They're too high, man. They're too high even though they're bottom, it's too high for them. They suck.
Shouts to the Magic though. Like they've had some close losses, and Cole Anthony is balling the F out. More on them later, actually, I guess, or him at least. Load them up.
Yeah, so we'll go over to the West. The West is playing out pretty much like almost how you would expect it. But there's one team that I've been like, okay, you guys are actually looking like you might do something. That's quite surprising. And that's Minnesota. Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah. They're only 3-3, but just any sign of life from that team is a nice positive surprise.
Yes.
So I mean, I don't know what you guys think. Do you think that they can keep this up? For me, it looks like it might be a turn.
Well, I was quite optimistic about them in preseason, before the season started. I think they were one of my teams. Who knows? I had all the teams.
You like everyone.
And for me, like even if you just look at them on paper, like they have talent on the team.
Yeah.
And we just know it to be a losing franchise. So that sort of colors our view on them. And then the thing that actually almost always makes them come a cropper is injuries, right? D'Angelo Russell doesn't play full seasons. Karl Anthony Towns, since Tibbs got done with him, doesn't play full seasons. He actually played every single game his first like 3 or 4 seasons in the league. But that seems like a distant memory now. He was a proper Iron Man. And now he has like these long injury bouts. So if it's a thing of if they can stay healthy, they have enough firepower to win on any given night, right? D'Angelo can go off, can play clutch as well. Anthony Edwards has improved a ton.
Oh yeah.
He's a really solid player now.
Mm-hmm.
And we know the talent that Towns has, right? He's arguably the the most talented offensive big in the league.
And you have Pat Bev there as well, bringing some experience.
Not annoying anyone at all.
No, at all. I'm going to use that move on that free throw line like he did. I'm just going to start using that.
You're just going to walk up to Valanciunas and bother him.
like he acts like, what? What have I done?
Is that, you know what that it reminded me a bit of an inside joke. Like, do you remember those guys in Battersea that was like, you don't know basketball? Like they used to travel all the time, and then you'll be like, dude, that's a travel. Or that doing backcourt violation. They're like, dude, that's a backcourt. They're like, you don't know basketball. You don't know the rules. I'm like, yeah.
If someone tells you that phrase like that, you don't know basketball, that means that they don't know basketball.
Exactly.
Right?
And they didn't know basketball. So, so that's exactly what it reminded me of. Like Beverly was like, what? Do you actually know the rules?
Like a 5-minute break in play whilst they argue.
But yeah, I think it's just a health thing. I think they're just as talented as, say, the Grizzlies, who were finished 9th last season, I think.
Yeah.
I think they could definitely compete for the play-in. I'm not sure if, like right now they're 500, a 500 team. I'm not sure if 500 will cut it for the play-in, but
really,
whatever the line is, I think they could make it, injuries permitting. They are a team where they've had a lot of change in the backroom staff and in ownership and the way that the teams run, which needed to happen. And the new regime over there has sort of, they left everything in place as it was when they got there. And then they slowly started making changes. They changed the GM, they've changed the coach, and they're starting to put their imprint on the franchise, but they're doing it slowly, and they want to make sure that they do things right rather than do things quickly. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully that spells a change for the franchise, because it's been bleak outside of that one Jimmy Butler fueled playoff run.
True.
Agree.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean with the injuries. It's kind of always hard to predict that, but it just, despite that, I just think that they've underachieved for who they've had. Like, I think it was even last season when they've got like not last season, I think it was the season before, they had Ricky Rubio, they had Covington there. It was like, that was a really decent squad that they had. And you're just like, just be better than bottom of the league. Shit.
Yeah, and they need to draft better. Like Edwards is a good pickup, but some of the other picks that they've made have been poor.
Oh yeah, definitely. But Edwards, he really seems like a baller. I think that could be a huge turning point for them, to have another sort of major guy to go alongside Towns. If he ends up producing as he is right now, and you mess up having him and Towns at the same time, then there's something really wrong there, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I've got hopes, but I think they might squeeze a play in, because looking at sort of the teams around there, I think they can be better than Sacramento. Sadly, Spurs, OKC, New Orleans at the minute.
OKC on around there.
No, I'm just saying, like, I think they're better than all that.
Yeah. But I don't think OKC is this season. I don't think OKC is there to play basketball. I think it's
let's play some basketball.
It's like a nursery type thing. Like it's like, can we get more like 15-year-olds in there? Just give them
the
a ball, let them
intermission
play.
until the next draft. That's all they
Yeah.
see.
Didn't they beat the oldest team in the NBA the other day?
Exactly. See, young legs.
Young legs.
Hey,
exactly.
They run more than all these old bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
Oh God.
The Lakers are actually without 2 of their oldest players for that game, so that's why we lost.
They were too young.
Sure.
So yeah, where do we think they can keep this up, stay in the spot they're in?
I don't think they can keep up 7th, but I think they're in the play-in at the minute, and that's what I'm saying.
Look. I mean, we've got the Clippers are below them.
The Suns.
You know, the Suns are below them. Portland's below them, but like Lillard's been playing trash. Like he's was averaging like 18 points a game
on terrible shooting numbers.
Tragic, yeah.
That sounds so bad to say 18 points is bad. It sounds so bad.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But for him, because we know what volume he can, you know, what he can produce is just really weird to see him that average. I want to see Minnesota. Like I think they could hold on to be like 9-10. You know, like they could have a freak season. And it's like, oh my God, it's working out this season. But then one piece away from, you know, one player away from having actually a team that holds up and that could do something interesting.
We'll see.
That could go higher, you know, something. That's the, you know, I saying that now, but we might jinx them. But like, it could go somewhere. Just jinx them. Like it could go somewhere this season, as in like not bottom. Like so OKC is more tragic than they are. The Pelicans, Houston is just absolute garbage. So those three teams are definitely 100% worse than they are. But then San Antonio, I think they just, you know, for the last season of, you know, Pup's last season, it might be too much for them this season. So I think at least on top of those 4 teams, so 10th, 11th, definitely. Sacramento, I don't know. Sacramento is a mystery to me. So
it's a mystery as well. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, right there, right?
Kind of like the same situation.
It's similar. Yeah.
It's around the same thing. So I think like battling for the 9, 10th, 11th spot. I think that's where
they have a chance. They have a chance.
Yeah. So playing definitely. I think playing if they carry on.
They've already like, you know, have a more successful start to the season than in the last 5 years, something like that. So it's promising, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Hopeful. Wow.
Wow. Yeah. That's a word you never use with the Wolves.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. We got any more, Mike?
Got one last one. Back in the East, but over the border. Toronto, currently 5-3. They're sitting in 6th in the East. Some people had them as like bottom of the league. This season, I can't remember which podcast I was listening to that had them.
It's probably us.
Probably. Yeah. So I mean, currently they're in the playoffs. I think they've surprised quite a few people with just the fact that they're competitive. OG Anunoby has had a great start to the season. There were a few people sort of tipping him. They've already made like the big sort of roster change where they had Dragic starting and they've dropped him out like significantly. Precious Achua was starting. I think they've dropped him out of the starting as well.
Right.
And Ken Burch has come in for him. So it's good to see that even though they've had like a good start, they're still sort of identifying where their weaknesses are and trying to sort of adjust that like this early in the season. So it's an interesting one.
Where's Siakam? Is Siakam playing or has he played?
Injured. He's injured.
Maybe this is a good thing, man. It's, you know, team, you know, going in another direction away from that, like Siakam being the main guy after Kawhi, because that clearly didn't work, right?
But I do think he would help them if he came back, just because it would allow everyone else to take like a slightly lesser role, almost like in the sort of Bulls sense that everyone could then hone in on what they do for the team. But I also don't think that him being like getting the ball 2 out of every 3 possessions or whatever is going to be helpful for them. Like he shouldn't be running ISOs. I think he should fit into the offense and they should run a more egalitarian offense like they're running now. But yeah, Precious Achua is still starting, but I think his minutes might have been reduced. Okay. He only played 17 minutes against the Knicks. Let me just double check for foul trouble. Only 1 foul, right? But he was -11. And the next worst starter was Fred VanVleet, and he was 0 in the plus minus. So I think I think they did identify that his minutes weren't the best minutes, and Ken Birch got 31. So you're right in that. And then Dragic was a DMP. Coach's decision.
He did have some strong statements when he was transferred. He said that he wasn't really feeling the motivation when he got traded to Toronto, and then he had to apologize.
Right.
I mean, he was in Miami though. Like,
yeah, it's too cold. Get me out of Canada.
I mean, the guy comes from like the sunniest country in the world, right? Like, come on, man. Like, take a break. Like, you come from Eastern Europe where things are basically the same as
changed, man.
England. So shut up, man. Well, you think you're a Florida man now?
Yeah,
you're gonna work on your tan. Like, come on.
It's changed, man. That Florida sun will change you. When they start talking to you in Spanish on the beach, it'll change you. So yeah, they've really come around because they started poorly, right? And they're only 5-3 now. So they've really dug themselves out of a hole, beating the New York Knicks, whose nose has been running all season.
Lucky they're not in this segment.
That's kind of bias, right? That's G&G bias. And they had to overcome adversity because the Knicks were on fire to start the game. There was all kinds of memes and stuff running around on the internet after the first quarter. And then Raptors came through and took it in the fourth. But yeah, I don't think they can keep it up either. They really just don't have enough scoring. Like, even if everyone on that roster played to their very best on offense, I don't think they can really score with the best of the East. So I can see them falling off. I think if one of these teams is most likely, in my opinion, to fall down the standings, it would be them. Although I do like the Raptors, I just don't look at that roster and get filled with optimism.
Yeah, I basically I kind of see them as the Spurs of the East now. Like, I think they've got like a solid core of a team, but they just don't have that like next level guy that would tip you over into a solid playoff team.
Yeah, they need a guy like DeRozan, or I don't know, DeRozan.
Lowry.
Kawhi Leonard, something like that, maybe.
Vince Carter.
Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
But Scotty Barnes he's been a great he's had a great start to the season as well. That seemed like a really good solid pickup, like very Spursy pickup, to be honest. Just a good, like, athletic, reliable player.
Yeah, he does a bit of everything, right? Whatever you want him to do, he can do it, and he does it well. It was really good to see early on. As I've said, this draft class is looking pretty interesting to start.
Yeah, agree.
But more on that later. So if that's our last team,
wait, I've got one more of extremely brief.
Go ahead.
Just one. I want to go back west, and I'll surprise you with the Mavs.
So you're going to say the Lakers?
No, the third right now with the 4-2. But I've seen the game that was on. When was it? Yesterday was it, or the day before?
Sunday night against the
Sunday
Kings.
night. It was Sunday night against the Kings. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which but then if you look at the results, the first 6 games. So they lost. They got absolutely trashed by the Hawks and absolutely smashed by Denver. Yeah. And then all of their win, that was like by 8 against the Raptors, by 10 against the Rockets, and by 6 against the Kings.
5 against the Spurs.
And 5 against the Spurs. So it's all very minimal margins. Yeah. And so even Doncic is playing like he's averaging 22. He's still doing the same thing, like but he doesn't look as good. I would say he's chunkier. But that's been a criticism towards him for the last couple of seasons, where he looks a bit like me. But the I don't know. They look weird. I'm not feeling them. Like I was watching again that Kings game. I thought I was like, it's a bit.
Well, there's a lot.
30 is a bit high.
Him and Porzingis is just not working well, and it's kind of either like whoever one of them will get the ball, the other one will just stand by the side and
and we know who's gonna have the ball. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, but if you've got like, it's just not. That's not a good team dynamic. Like whatsoever, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, because they still have to keep Porzingis happy, right? If he's going to be on the roster, they still have to keep him happy. So they, that's one of the changes that Jason Kidd has made. They've put the ball in Porzingis' hands more, but now Porzingis is injured. So
exactly,
that's why they're.
So give him the ball. Give him he can't play anyway.
Yeah, they had a couple nice moves in the first quarter against the Kings, but then after that it was a bit again.
Yeah, they won't be able to keep this up, man.
I can't see them in the top 4. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If they are though,
no way. Yeah,
MVP Luka.
No way.
Yeah, well, MVP Luka is gonna have to average like 35 a game if they want to stay up there, like quickly,
like Harden did, right? Ha
ha ha ha.
Just follow Harden steps. Grow a beard.
And lose weight, right?
Sure.
So, and their schedule, their schedule's all right. They've got the Heat, Spurs, Celtics, Pelicans. They're winnable games. Then the Bulls, they might get pasted by the East's finest. Spurs again.
Suns
Nuggets,
twice.
Suns
Clippers twice. Right. Yeah.
Suns don't look right. So, all right. So next up, we wanted to talk about the rule changes. Doesn't have to be the longest of conversations, but they have changed these rules. These rules surrounding players jumping into other players. So they will now be called offensive fouls if you jump into the defender. And we've seen them being called. I saw James Harden get called for one where the ref said he jumped forwards. Pardon me. We've seen, I can't remember who it was. I think it was one of the Kings players tried to, or Chris Paul tried to run in front of one of the Kings players and
Patrick
draw
Beverly
the foul
too.
by falling down. Patrick Beverly got
Dribbling.
called.
Yeah,
got called for a foul on one of those plays. But then today's highlights, Trae Young actually got a call where the defender ran into the back of him. But I guess what he did was he went straight up rather than jumping backwards into the defender. So it's still a foul. It's just that the offensive player cannot instigate or
reduce space.
Yeah, reduce space or hunt the contact. Right?
Yeah.
They have to take it willingly.
Welcome to FIBA basketball, people. Well done. Welcome back. Welcome back to the real world.
Most people are okay with this, aren't they? Like, who's mad at this?
Fans and players are.
But who's mad at this? Harden and Trae.
Has Harden said anything? I don't think he has.
No, he has.
He has.
And Steve Nash did, which is ironic because he was cursing out Trae Young for it last year when Trae Young was using Steve Nash moves and getting calls.
Excellent.
So now he's outraged that Harden's not getting calls. But I do think Harden was kind of I don't know, made an example of because
I agree with what you said on our WhatsApp group. I was like, out of all the players, like Harden is not the one that I think of. Like when you look at the fouls that are on him, it's not. He doesn't do what the other guys are doing, which is like he does it a couple of times. But
they kind of look like fouls.
They look like fouls. Like every time you see it's the defensive players that is reaching for him, like that is reducing the space towards him. Like Trae Young and Chris Paul, like they were straight up taking the piss. Like they were pushing the rules to the max, and And it's just like you see that, and nobody liked it. Like, like, and it's like what Dave always says, like, well, they just, the rules are there, and they're just trying to push to that rule to the limit, and they're trying to take advantage to that leniency from the refs and from the rules. So, and that's fair enough, it's fair enough. Like you do it, but it became, I think, even to me, it's like it became something that's sometimes unwatchable. It's just like, this makes no sense. Like I've when I learned to play basketball, I was told, if you the person that reduces the space towards the other player is the one that commits the foul, because you are reducing the space. It's all about reducing that. Unless obviously when it's like the around the arc and you're trying to get draw an offensive foul or whatever. There's always been that talk, but if I had a couple training clinics with referees, and they explain to you, it's like the guy that reduces the space is the guy that's going to get the foul. So it's back. It's nice to see that they're going back and they've I think, to me, I use the word, they corrected that mistake that was there. I think it's all for the better.
I think is this not like a similar this rule or a similar one that they've kind of flip-flopped about like a couple of times, I feel?
The reducing of the space was a proper emphasis. They've put an emphasis on the offensive player instigating contact, right? They do edit the rules, and I think in years past they've gone the other way in that they've called more fouls to start the season, and then it kind of relaxes itself as the season goes on. Whereas this year, outside of the emphasis, they've just called less fouls.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot more drives where it's like light contact that we, historically call NBA fouls, right? Fouls that you get that in the NBA, but you're not going to get it at FIBA, you're not going to get it in Europe. They've stopped calling NBA fouls, period. Like players are just driving, getting touched, but basketball, not necessarily knocked off their course.
Yeah.
And they're just not blowing the whistle.
And you saw it at the Olympics. If you watch every single Team USA games, they're literally Team USA stopped playing because they were automatically expecting the call. And it's like, well, no, you're not getting this here because this is not a foul. Like it's, so it's interesting to see that they've. But when did they announce that those rule changes? Was it like pretty early?
The end of last season, wasn't it? Like they said that they were going to make changes. Yeah,
during the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's funny. It feels like some players are like, "Oh, where's that coming
from?" It all depends on how it's going to get applied in the game as well, right? I do think that because I think Silva was at the Olympics, wasn't he?
At some point, he would have been, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that they've kind of looked at that and looked at the product that was there and kind of trying to use that as a bit of an example of this is where we can improve and make it a more enjoyable spectator sport.
Yeah,
stop slapping people.
Yeah, and it's made scoring a lot harder as well. By the way of changing those differences.
I think it's a lot harder to give the superstar call, right? Where you like, there wasn't anything there. Why are you just blowing the whistle because Giannis is coming down the lane or I don't know, whoever. So like all of this combined, I think is creating that what you're talking about. Like it seems like a reduction in sort of individual scoring.
But and that's part of what I think we had the discussion last year or 2 years ago about how to make the game as like overall watching a basketball game a more fluid and maybe something that's easier to sell as well, because you always said about those stoppages all the time. It's like you have, and I'm sure that's part of it as well. It's not just only the beauty of the game, it's like how smooth and seamless that the game can be, because if you have a referee breaking up the game every play almost because one player is diving or expecting a call, then you're literally, especially for the American audience, you're creating boredom. So you're losing viewers there. It'll be interesting to see if that impacts viewership at all. Like if it's made people watch basketball again, or if the audiences are going to be, those numbers are going to be higher.
I think the people. I think the people that are watching are enjoying it more. At the very least, the people that are watching are enjoying it more, because that's the other thing. Like when there's a full night of basketball, like last night, it was about 12 o'clock. I turned on the games, which seemed to start early for some reason. Turned on the games. There was about 7 or 8 games on at the same time.
We went back an hour, right? Like, I'm just saying.
Oh, my man. Figured it out. Solved that mystery.
What's happening?
Didn't even
I thought you were
Thelma.
kidding, man.
Hang on.
God.
Oh man, life is good.
Life is good.
So I turned on the games, and there was a bunch of games on, and like when you click around the league and you're like, oh, okay, whatever, it's Pacers, Spurs, and it's Bucks, this team, and it's and it's Hawks, Wizards, and all of these games with interesting matchups and things like that going on. The amount of times in the seasons gone by where I'll turn on a game and I'm looking at the crowd and they're pumping music, the DJ's pumping music and trying to pump up the crowd, and they're throwing t-shirts, and then you click on another game and there's cheerleaders dancing and there's this going on, there's that going on. You click on another game and there's someone balancing plates on a unicycle. And it's like, I'm here to watch basketball.
It's like they're always stopped in a way.
Yeah. You click around the Champions League right now while we're recording this podcast and you will watch football. Like football is on, you get to watch football. And I know American fans say, oh, it's long and boring, but at least you're watching what
you're watching what you're supposed to be watching.
But
it's the actual game or it's analysis of the game.
Yeah. Or VAR.
No, but it's what I've been always talking about with the differences in rhythm between European, FIBA basketball and NBA basketball. Like I think we had the discussion about a million times now, where I always repeat that for me, watching an NBA game live feels more tiring. It feels like it's completely different rhythm. It's completely different way of enjoying the product and enjoying the game. Like again, I actually watched EuroLeague basketball last week, and it's like, if you put those same timeouts in Europe, like you would kill the vibe. Also, you would like the timeouts are like a minute long, and then you go back into it and bang, that's it.
If you're lucky,
crowd is still into it. Yeah, but in the NBA, it's like you got a 3 minutes timeout. It's like, whoa, what is that? What is that about? There's no better way to kill the vibe in the arena. And if you're watching it, it's like it when I watch it on TV, like, it takes me out the game sometimes. Somebody comes back and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go around the table, and if each of us just briefly gives something that they've enjoyed from the new season. I'll go last just to make sure I don't step on any toes. Is there anyone that wants to jump out the window with their their take?
I can go first because mine. I just want to like generally say I love that basketball's back, and I'm literally watching as many games as I can, but I want to throw in there like a fun fact, because I was reading an interview done to Paul George last night, and I'm going to quote him here. He's talking about the Wilson basketball, because obviously they changed the basketball. Yeah. It's no more Spalding. Wilson is back because it was up until like the 80s, I think.
Yeah.
So quoting Paul George, it doesn't have the same touch and softness that the Spalding ball had. You'll see it this year, a lot of bad misses, and you've seen a lot of air balls. Now, you can say, come on, man. A ball is a ball, right? But hear this. League averages. Fair, it's only been like 6-7 games each, but 44% in field goals, and that's the lowest since 2004.
Yep.
And 3-pointers is 34%, lowest since 1999. So, hey, are players adapting to the ball, or what's happening here?
It's the rules. It's either the ball or the rules.
Or both.
Or both. he's and only one or two players have actually mentioned the ball, so I'm reluctant to blame the ball. But no, you're right. Scoring is definitely down. And I think it's the biggest drop in scoring for like 30 years or something like that.
Yeah.
From one season to the next. But yeah, it is interesting. I like to think it's the rules, just players expecting to get fouled and throwing up some stuff, and it's not falling.
Like it's gonna change how they like approach the game entirely. I think if you're now thinking, oh, if I drive, then I might not get this call. That's not as an efficient sort of play as it used to be, right? Like, do you really want to do that, and you're risking injury?
Yeah.
So I think the rule change has a big thing. The threes going down is a surprise. That's weird.
Yeah.
But like, come on, man, like, do better.
Do you need softer balls? What do we think?
Smoother.
Is that what she said?
Yeah, sure. But I think they need to be smoother and softer to the touch, So
ripples.
We're still talking about basketballs, right?
Well, sure.
Thank you, our ball connoisseur, Tom.
What's that shaving company that sponsors every YouTube?
You know what we need to do, right? We need to buy a Spalding and buy a Wilson and then destroy them and see which one explodes first.
Yeah, big exploding balls. Yeah.
Bang.
Shoot 100 shots.
Anyway, that's it from me, guys.
Signing out.
Stuck in my face.
Nice.
Who wants to go next?
Surprise one for me. I am loving Ja Morant's play. Like, he is like just shot out of preseason into the league and just looks incredible. He's looking like an all-star lock at the moment, and is one of the most exciting and fun players to watch. It's kind of it's like early days Russell Westbrook, just attacking everything with energy.
But I think he has more craft than Westbrook, right? Yeah. He's almost more flashy. Like, Westbrook was more forceful, maybe slightly more athletic. More like Westbrook would go at you like 100% speed and power, whereas Ja Morant, some of the spin moves, some of the
he's more skilled than Westbrook.
More skillful. It's more skillful.
Yeah.
It's
the flashy finishes, the flashy handle. Yeah.
I mean, even his shooting form's better than Westbrook. Westbrook looks weird.
Westbrook shoots like bricks, like straight bricks,
like flat.
Ja actually has a good art. Like, it's good.
Westbrook shot a bank shot, and it pinged off the backboard like it was an alley-oop pass. It was so bad. So bad.
I love him. I'm glad he's on the Lakers.
Brody.
I am deep in the Westbrook experience, man. It is a roller coaster. I feel sick. What you got for us, Tom?
I've got two, but they're two very brief. One is Steph Curry, completely 100% back.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's not suffering from any rule changes or different balls in his hands. He's still shooting like a madman and stuff like that. The second one is the Knicks.
Oh. Surprise.
Well, combine that with the Nets being so they are struggling.
Let's see how it is in June. All right.
I don't care. I live in the moment. My wife goes, she said you have to live in the moment. So I'm living in the moment.
Stay present.
The moment is good right now.
Fuck it. Tom Brady, right? Fuck Tom Brady. Them guys are wild, man. And yeah, for me, I think that the biggest one is just the rookie class. They've Franz Wagner for the Magic has been really, really solid. another do-it-all wing, just like Scotty Barnes you mentioned earlier. Scotty Barnes is probably the front runner for Rookie of the Year right now. He's been incredible. Evan Mobley for the Cavs.
Yeah.
He's drawing young AD comparisons. If you look at AD in his rookie year before his offensive game really took off. Just defensively, he looks like he can switch 1 through 5. He's got all the length in the world, and then he's been passing really well as well. Cavs are overachieving with him in there. Funnily enough, Jalen Green hasn't quite taken off yet, but he did have a huge explosion against the Celtics, who doesn't, where he scored 30 points. And I think he hit his first, was it 6 or 7 threes in a row? And yeah, broke one of the rookie records for the Rockets. So this draft class is, looking really
Duarte
impressive.
as well from the Pacers.
Duarte.
Hey,
just about to say that. Yeah.
Dominican power, man. Like, he's good.
Yeah. So this draft class is looking really impressive. And that's with Cade Cunningham just playing his first game. He wasn't great in the game by any means, but he did say that he's just going to try and hustle defensively and get his teammates involved. And that's exactly what he did. His shot wasn't falling, so he did that, and they managed to win their first game of the season. So, the young guys are looking great. I look forward to doing our rookie episode in a couple months and seeing where they're all at. But it's been a fun start to the season. And I feel like we're closer than we've ever been to parity. So we'll see how it pans out. It's going to be a tough one to predict. All right. Definitely. All right. So I think that concludes our episode. As we said at the top, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Like, share, rate, review. Get us on social media at Grit and Grime Pod. And make sure your balls are soft, right?
Yes.
And smooth.
Yes.
Wilson.
Keep touching those balls. Yeah.
Wilson.
I did say it's Wilson on the side.
Wilson.
It's a weird tattoo.
Wilson. Touch Wilson's balls. I mean, buy Wilson balls.
Buy Wilson balls? Are you allowed to sell balls?
Sure, there's a market.
You're allowed to like rent them per hour.
You're allowed?
I think.
I don't know. Spalding bing bong. All right, we have.
It's going somewhere. Yeah.
We're done here. We're done here.
Yeah,
before this descends into madness. Let's leave
out
with our dignity.
Yeah. Pull out, Dave. Pull out.
They pull out again. So from me, David Sagoe. From what order did I introduce you in? Thomas Arnal.
I'm sorry. Bye.
From Michael Downey.
2 days into No Nut November, and this is how it's going.
We're balls to the walls already, Mike. And from Jose Garcia Vidal.
Bye. Have a good one.
We're out of here. So polite.